Do you and I share the same goals?
See, this is the thing. The Jews aren't going to win, guys. Not only are they not going to win, this happens over and over and over again in history. Right now, they are ending. They're at the end of their delusional fantasy.
Now, you're probably wondering why I am playing a clip of a mashup video I made a few months ago where I mock both Owen Benjamin and Prager University. I mock Owen Benjamin for being the disgusting anti-Semitic lunatic that he has become, and I mock Prager University for having a lack of good judgment, so to speak, by exposing their audience to Owen Benjamin. Because in all fairness to PragerU, their latest video featuring Owen Benjamin was uploaded as late as February of this year, 2019. And this was before Owen Benjamin's anti-Semitic ramblings, or at least the ones I know of. But even at the time, I was wondering, hasn't Owen Benjamin already went off the deep end? Hasn't Owen Benjamin rambled about how the earth is flat? And hasn't he ranted and raved about moon landing conspiracy theories, you know, real American values, pro-American values, doubting America's greatness by implying that the moon landing was a hoax and saying that the earth was flat? Even then, even before the anti-Semitic ramblings, I was thinking, why are they giving Owen Benjamin hosting privileges and exposing their big audience, over 2 million subscribers on YouTube? Why are they exposing them to this guy who has seemed to have lost credibility and respect even amongst the so-called red-pilled and conservative circles? Anyway, it has been brought to my attention that since my mashup was uploaded, and I'm not taking credit for this, I doubt that PragerU even watched my video, but nevertheless, it has been brought to my attention that since Prager University has removed their videos featuring Owen Benjamin, which begs a good question. Why on earth would Prager University remove videos from their YouTube channel that feature Owen Benjamin? Why would they remove videos featuring Owen Benjamin? Well, I'm not one to assume things, folks, but I'm going to take an educated guess and say that Prager University probably removed the videos featuring Owen Benjamin because Owen Benjamin has become an embarrassment, to say the least. Owen Benjamin has become potentially toxic and damaging toward Prager University's integrity, damaging to Prager University's brand and reputation. By continuing to promote Owen Benjamin, PragerU might lose some credibility and respect from their own audience. And you know what? I applaud Prager University for this decision. Good for you, PragerU. You made the right decision. I support this decision to remove Owen Benjamin's videos from your own YouTube channel because, like I said, it could be damaging and fatal to your brand and your bottom line. And you should reserve... PragerU, I am being honest when I say this. You have every right to do what needs to be done to protect your brand and your bottom line. But this begs another good question. If PragerU should reserve the right to remove videos from their YouTube channel as a means of protecting their brand and their reputation and doing what's in their best interest, then why shouldn't Google have the same right to remove videos or channels or restrict videos and channels as a means of protecting their interests, as a means of pleasing their shareholders and appealing to potential advertisers? And with that said, let's take a look at Dennis Proletariat Prager's testimony at the Senate hearings yesterday.
Mr. Prager, we'll start with you.
Now, I want to start by noting how interesting it is that Ted Cruz has made the regulation of social media, companies like Facebook and Google, one of his pet issues. Ted Cruz has been very hostile towards Facebook in that hearing that was a few months ago, And if you watch his statements and questioning of Google in this hearing, you'll see that he's hostile toward Google as well. A few weeks ago, Ted Cruz was trying to play grab ass with goofy Elizabeth Warren, saying that Facebook needs to be regulated in the name of fairness. And I say this is interesting because a few years back, Ted Cruz got on the Senate floor during a filibuster and started reading excerpts from Atlas Shrugged, saying that Atlas Shrugged is one of his favorite books, adding that Americans should go out and buy and read Atlas Shrugged. He was urging people to go and read Atlas Shrugged, saying that we are currently living in the times of Ayn Rand. And he's actually not wrong, considering that Ted Cruz himself is acting like a total Wesley Mouch toward companies like Facebook and Google.
I will take just a moment, because my opening comment is under 5 minutes, just to respond on the issue of the Ten Commandments video that was placed on the restricted list by Google. The representative from Google mentioned that a reason that it would be on the restricted list was that it contains mentions of murder. So I was thinking I have a solution that will, I think, appeal to Google. I will re-release it as the 9 Commandments. That should solve the problem of including murder in my discussion of the 10 Commandments.
So that's why Dennis Prager is here. Because Google, which has given Prager a free platform to reach millions of people that he probably otherwise would not have reached, put a few of his videos on restricted mode, and so now Dennis Prager is coming to the federal government, he's coming to the Senate to whine and cry about it and ask that senators like Ted Cruz do something about it in the name of fairness, because apparently free speech, when the founding fathers drafted the First Amendment, they were thinking, yeah, this is so important, free speech, that that property rights, private property just goes right out the fucking window as soon as you tell someone what they can and can't say on your own property. And this is interesting considering that a few years ago, and I'm sure Dennis Prager has spoken about this since, Dennis Prager was throwing himself on grenades for Christian bakeries who were turning away homosexual couples who wanted the Christian bakery to bake a cake for their wedding. And he was saying that, this is part of their religious freedom. They have every right to turn away homosexual couples. They should not be compelled by the force of government to bake the cake. And yet he's doing the exact same thing that gay couple was doing to the Christian bakery. Dennis Prager is doing the exact same thing to companies like Google and Facebook.
And as regards the swastika, yes, there is a swastika. It is, again, in the commandment of do not murder, wherein I show that murder, there are people who believe murder is all right even today. And I use the swastika and the hammer and sickle as 2 examples. I would think we would want young people to associate the swastika with evil. That was why I had a swastika. It is an honor to be invited to speak in the United States Senate, but I wish I were not so honored, because the subject of this hearing, Google and YouTube's, and for that matter, Twitter and Facebook's suppression of internet content on ideological grounds, threatens the future of America more than any external enemy. In fact, never in American history has there been as strong a threat to freedom of speech as there is today.
Dennis Prager says, as he is threatening Google's private property rights, Dennis Proletariat Prager over here, demanding that the government violate Google's property rights in the name of fairness. There's no dichotomy between private property and free speech. And yes, if you're on my property, I get to tell you to leave if I disagree with what you're saying. If you're saying stuff, if you're on my property, if you're insulting me, if you're insulting my living room decor, if you're calling me names based on my religious or political views, I have every right to tell you to get the fuck out. And especially considering Google, which is a private company that exists to make money, they have every right to exercise decisions that is in the best interest for their shareholders. Now, whether or not putting PragerU's videos, some of their videos on restricted mode, whether or not that's best for Google's bottom line, I don't know. And quite frankly, I'm not a Google shareholder, but and maybe Google is wrong, but if they are, they'll probably find out when it hurts their bottom line.
Before addressing this, however, I think it important that you know a bit about me and the organization I co-founded, Prager University, PragerU, as it is often referred to. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. My late father, Max Prager, was a CPA and an Orthodox Jew who volunteered to serve in the U.S. Navy at the start of World War II. My father...
Hey, look, good for your pops, proletariat Prager, but what does this have to do with Google?
My father's senior class thesis at the City College of New York was on anti-Semitism in America. Yet despite his keen awareness of the subject, he believed that Jews living in America were the luckiest Jews to have ever lived.
Well, I would say that most, if not all people who live in America are very lucky to live in America because America is still relatively free, even though the freedoms have been eroding over the last 100 or so years. And but what makes America great is the fact that it was established on individual freedom. An individual's freedom to life, liberty, and the pursuit of property and happiness. And these are freedoms that Dennis Proletariat Prager is clearly trying to erode.
He was right. Having taught Jewish history at Brooklyn College, written a book on anti-Semitism, and fought Jew hatred my whole life, I thank God for living in America. It breaks my heart that a vast number of young Americans have not only not been taught how lucky they are to be Americans, but have been taught either how unlucky they are or how ashamed they should be. It breaks my heart for them because contempt for one's country leaves a terrible hole in one's soul, and because ungrateful people always become unhappy and angry people. And it breaks my...
And you seem pretty ungrateful toward Google, but more on that in a sec.
Breaks my heart for America, because no good country can survive when its people have contempt for it. I have been communicating this appreciation of America for 35 years as a radio talk show host, the last 20 in national syndication with the Salem Radio Network, an organization that is a blessing in American life.
Speaking of which, so he's talking about the Salem Radio Network. Well, Salem Radio Network, they never gave me a radio show. Is that fair to me, Dennis? Shouldn't I have a right to a platform like the Salem Radio Network? Where was Dennis Prager? Now he's talking about Google and how unfair it is that they exercise judgment and set rules for families and children and whatnot. Wasn't the FCC has been doing this for decades, especially during the 90s and 2000s, where they clearly regulate speech, which is outside of the scope of the federal government. They regulated free speech, or I shouldn't call it free speech. They regulated speech on broadcast airwaves in the name of the general welfare, in the name of the prurient interest, in the name of protecting children from harmful words and harmful content that might be damaging long term. Now, there is a clear difference between government and a private corporation doing it. When the government does it, they can revoke your license and stop you from doing business. They can impose penalties and fines on you, which if you don't pay, they'll take away your license. They could probably throw you in jail. I don't know exactly what the FCC and the federal government does when you don't pay indecency fines. But yeah, where was Dennis Prager standing up for MTV and CBS when they were getting hit up for millions of dollars because Janet Jackson's boob popped out during the halftime show of the Super Bowl? Where was Dennis Prager then? Why isn't he demanding fairness from Salem to people like me, atheists, non-conservatives? Salem should give me a radio show. It's not fair, Dennis. Go demand fairness from Salem, the Salem Radio Network.
One reason I started PragerU was to communicate America's moral purpose and moral achievements, both to young Americans and to young people around the world. With 1 billion views a year and with more than half of the viewers under age 35, PragerU has achieved some success.
So there you have it. He just admitted that he's achieved over 1 billion views on his YouTube channel, and he's reached millions of people that he probably otherwise would not have reached without Google, without YouTube, without Google spending $1 billion buying YouTube over a decade ago and innovating and building on it to the point where anyone with a camera and internet access can have their own platform, their own video platform, which did not exist before. Because at the time when Google bought YouTube, hosting video content was rather expensive. It cost a lot of money in bandwidth and just storage for multiple, if not hundreds of gigabytes worth of data, because that's what it takes to store and deliver video content on the internet. And Google bought YouTube and just said, here, everyone, here's a free platform. As long as you follow the rules and you don't hurt our bottom line, come get on YouTube. Come start your own YouTube channel. And then on top of that, they started paying people for this. Google started offering people a means of income by saying, hey, we're going to put advertisements on your videos, and we're gonna make money off your videos, but we'll give you a little bit of cut as well. So now people who probably otherwise would never have had a fucking career in entertainment are now making money on YouTube. And yeah, I know sometimes YouTube demonetizes people when they shouldn't, and there's a lot to say about that. But and Google should be criticized when they're out of line. But this idea that we need to get government involved is outrageous and completely unnecessary. And it just shows how ungrateful Dennis Prager is. He was just talking about how ungrateful leftist Americans are. Dennis Prager is being ungrateful toward YouTube, which they don't even like take down his videos. They just put a few of them on restricted, and his videos still get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views, still going up, and it's all free of charge. I'm guessing Dennis Prager has probably made money. I don't know the demonetization history behind PragerU. But Google has allowed Prager to reach millions of people and build this audience for free, and now he's demanding government regulation? What an ungrateful asshole.
My philosophy of life is easily summarized. God wants us to be good. Period. God without goodness is fanaticism, and goodness without God will not long endure. Everything I and PragerU do emanates from belief in the importance of being a good person. That some label us extreme or...
So what Prager's doing here is saying, look, I'm a good guy. I'm just trying to promote good values. Who doesn't say that? Is there anyone that would have come to this and say, yeah, I'm evil? Like, no one's an honest cartoon villain that just says, yeah, I'm evil because I'm bad because I want to take over the world. No. Evil people try to get, and I'm not saying Dennis Prager is evil, but yeah, no shit, Dennis, you're trying to do what you think is good. Communists could say the same thing. Communists always say, yeah, we just want to end this class warfare, and we just want to make sure no one's getting exploited too much, and we want to make sure everyone has their basic needs met. We just care about people. Well, do communists now have a right to Google's property to spread their message? What do you think about that, Dennis? People always present themselves as being good.
Plus extreme or quote haters only reflects on the character and the broken moral compass of those making such accusations. They are the haters and extremists.
Yeah, they're the haters. Meanwhile, Dennis Prager is always throwing atheism under the bus for all of the ills in society, because, I mean, he just implied it. They're like, oh, yeah, we don't have God in society anymore, and we need more God, and I'm promoting the values and virtues of God, and we need more God in society. But if you've been following PragerU on Facebook for the last few years, they're constantly crapping on atheism and suggesting that it's responsible for the moral decay in society. Now, Dennis Prager does not hate atheists, as he just said. He's had an atheist on PragerU. Alex Epstein is one of them. I think I can't remember. I think Michael Shermer has had videos on PragerU. I think he's a secular atheist, whatever you want to call him. So he doesn't hate atheists, but I think he hates atheism, and he blames atheism for the problems in society.
PragerU releases a 5-minute video every week. Our presenters include 3 former prime ministers, 4 Pulitzer Prize winners, liberals, conservatives, gays, blacks, Latinos, atheists, believers, Jews, Christians, Muslims, and professors and scientists from MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and a dozen other universities.
And anti-Semitic pieces of garbage like Owen Benjamin. But good on you for taking down those videos, Dennis. You should have the right to again exercise your judgment to protect your brand. But Google, no, we need to regulate them in the name of fairness and free speech.
Do you think the Secretary General of NATO, or the former prime ministers of Norway, Canada, or Spain, or the late Charles Krauthammer, or Philip Hamburger, distinguished professor of law at Columbia Law School, would make a video for an extreme or hate-filled site?
Well, and this gets to another issue. We keep saying extreme. There's nothing wrong with being extreme, Dennis. What if you're an extreme for good? What if you're an extremist for reason and an extremist for freedom? Is that wrong? Is being an extremist in of itself bad? What if you're an extremist for hard work, an extremist for self-esteem, for an extremist for being happy, so long as you're not hurting others? Is that bad, Dennis? We don't want to be too extremely good now. We don't want to be too extremely reasonable. That's taking it too far.
The idea is not only preposterous, it is a smear. Yet Google, which owns YouTube, has restricted access to 56 of our 325-minute videos and to other videos we produce.
Oh no, Google restricted, not taken down, not removed entirely, just restricted 1/6 of the videos on his channel. So again, we need to get Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, but we need to get some government regulators on the board of directors at Google.
Restricted means families that have a filter to avoid pornography and violence cannot see that video. It also means that no school or library can show that video.
So yeah, so restricted means that if you have parental restrictions on your account, your kids won't be able to access it. But Dennis, if you have parents in your audience that would like to show your videos to their kids, do you think they're just going to say, "Oh, well, the algorithm, the parental restriction said this isn't suitable, so I guess we're not going to watch"? Like, do you honestly think your audience is that stupid?
Show that video. Google has even restricted access to a video on the 10 Commandments, as we have seen. Yes, the 10 Commandments.
And so what we need government to come in and put a handcuff on Google and force them to air videos that promote religious values like the 10 Commandments. Again, this doesn't sound like a violation of the First Amendment at all.
Repeatedly asked Google why our videos are restricted. No explanation is ever given. But of course we know why. Because they come from a conservative perspective. Liberals and conservatives differ on many.
Now this is besides the point, but it ignores the fact that liberals and lefties like Kyle Kulinski, who I'm no fan of, and David Pakman have had their videos restricted and demonetized by YouTube. David Pakman has been doing videos about this, about how YouTube is not really discriminating against people of a certain political ideology. He's demonstrated that YouTube has really been cracking down on what he calls individual content creators, independent content creators altogether, from Steven Crowder to Kyle Kulinski to David Pakman and others across the political spectrum. And again, I'm not that crazy about David Pakman, but clearly, his videos, the evidence he shows, just demonstrates that Dennis Prager's entire narrative is a total myth.
Conservatives differ on many issues, but they have always agreed that free speech must be preserved. While the left has never supported free speech, liberals always have. I therefore appeal to liberals to join us in fighting.
Now, what he's implying here is that conservatives are the real champions and warriors and defenders of free speech, saying, oh, the left doesn't care about free speech. And he's right, the left doesn't care about free speech. But he's saying, but liberals always have, and conservatives, they definitely care about free speech. Meanwhile, Dennis Prager gave a show to Candace Owens on Prager University called The Candace Owens Show, which is hosted by Prager University. All of the episodes are on PragerU's YouTube channel, and they get hundreds of thousands of views. The Candace Owens Show, which again shows that this whole issue of censorship is totally overblown. But anyway, Candace Owens said a few weeks ago that if she were president, that she would strip Americans of their citizenship if they were burning the American flag as a means of political statement, as a means of protest. Now, I'm no fan of people that burn the American flag. I love America, but yes, that is consistent with free speech. You have a right to burn or wipe your ass with the American flag if you're making a political statement. That is free speech. And Candace Owens says, oh no, that's going too far. You can't be insulting America like that. You can't be disrespecting the troops like that. You know, I like free speech, but I mean, she even said in the Twitter thread that free speech has limitations, using that dumb fire in a crowded theater as if that's an appropriate analogy for what she's talking about. But anyway, the point is, Dennis Prager gives this dumbass her own show on his own platform, and then has the audacity to imply here that conservatives are the ones that really care about free speech.
In fighting on behalf of America's crowning glory, free speech. Otherwise, I promise you, one day you will say, first they came after conservatives, and I said nothing. And then they came after me, and there was no one left.
So here, Dennis is concluding his statement by citing that famous poem. I don't remember who wrote it or what it's called, but it's about the persecution of Jews in Nazi Germany. But what an amazing metaphor. This multi-billion-dollar corporation, which has allowed Dennis Prager, which has helped Dennis Prager reach over 1 billion views, reach millions of people that he probably otherwise would not have reached free of charge. This multi-billion-dollar corporation, which has helped Dennis Prager, the fact that they have restricted a handful of videos on his channel is really akin to the Nazi persecution of Jews during the Third Reich. Yeah, these two actions are very similar, Dennis. Get the fuck out of here.